Just in the meantime, you'll see that there's a clipboard coming around, and it's really for attendance. I know everybody registered, and that was more for food and just to see how many were coming. But we need everyone to sign in for attendance, so if you print your name, so we know who you are, and then you can sign however you normally sign. Thank you. All right, we'll begin the meeting. My name is Ava Tomlinson, and I am the chair of council at Westminster United Church. I'm about halfway through my term, and this is the second annual congregational meeting that I've sort of presided over, or began anyway. We'll have a different chair. So, welcome. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. It is an important meeting in our faith community calendar, and thank you to everyone who is playing a part in the meeting by making a motion, monitoring the live stream, providing reports verbally, or contributing as part of the annual report. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to the UCW and the Foodman Group for preparing the lunch that we've just enjoyed. The chair movers, for setting up and taking down, and it's all down. It's like a miracle. Renelle for keeping Westminster beautiful, particularly during this very difficult winter. Katie Bonikowski for working with Amy Medlock to produce the annual report. To our minister, Reverend Michelle, for her message and for her care. To Linda for her work with the First Third Ministry, Ben for the music, and to the live stream and tech booth for their dedication, as well as all the volunteers who contribute each and every day. And when I look around, I know I'm preaching to the converted because I see so many faces who volunteer doing so many things. So I'm not going to ask you to do more. I can't do that, because you all do so much each and every day. And I know that you feel the same way that I do, that it is work, but it's also learning, friendship, and fellowship. So thank you for all that you do. Now I'd like to ask Reverend Michelle to come up and say a prayer.
So I'll begin by lighting our Christ candle as a reminder of Christ's presence with us as we meet. So we begin with an opening prayer, and also in that prayer, a time of remembrance as we remember saints who walked among us and who are no longer with us. And these names that will be lifted up in our prayer are names of people and families that we've accompanied through grief. Some of the names you may know, some you may not know, but each one the family circle has been touched by the ministry of Westminster, and we are holding them in heart and in prayer. So let us pray. God of all grace and abundant mercy, we are so grateful we can come together again as your community to have this opportunity to give thanks, to express gratitude for one another and the many gifts that have been shared, to give thanks for the year that has passed, and to look forward with hope toward the year ahead. We are really grateful to gather in community, all ages, various backgrounds, to share together in in the work, the ministry, for all the ways, too, God, that you've sustained us through challenges that have arisen and through celebration. We're pausing to remember those who have walked among us and who now walk no longer, the saints of this congregation and of our community whose lives have had an effect and whose presence we still feel and whose absence we still carry. And so we name them now, God, trusting that they are held in your eternal love. We name Barbara Octoloni, Thomas White, Arthur Allen, Mary Bradnock, June Phillips, Nina Callback, Shirley Fallow, Bill Whitcomb, Mary Beckett, Audrey Kukel, and Vernon Cooper, Bill McKecken, Valerie Gooderham, Edward Langford, Gordon Rossbond, Maria Van Leeuwen, Roy Weldon, Andy Woodside, Maureen Keeping. Gracious God, for all they gave to this community, for all of the love that they carried and what they've left behind, we give you thanks. Hold us close as we meet together and give us the grace to be present with courage and hope and love. It is in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Okay, I am going to just talk a bit about the voting and voting privileges. So we're working on having 2 platforms of attendance. So in the sanctuary, you will be voting on motions for approval with your hands up for each of when you're asked, and understand that due to the 2 platforms, we will be patient with questions, responses, and voting as the monitors have to relay that information to the secretary. We have live stream on now, and so the people on live stream will be monitored by Margaret Supal. And in the sanctuary, the secretary and chair will monitor the people voting in the sanctuary. As we move along, Paul Pearson and Gord Mahaffey will have mics available to the congregation. So if you want to speak, it's much better to have a mic because then everyone can hear you. I just have to read something from the United Church of Canada manual about who may vote, and then we'll move on to a motion. So full members may vote. All full members whose names are on the membership roll have the right to vote at all meetings of the congregation. And adherents may vote at meetings of the congregation if the full members decide to allow adherents to vote. The decision may allow voting rights on all matters or only specified matters. So could I have a motion, please?
Heather Von Zubin. I move that with the consent of the full members of Westminster United Church, adherents of the church will be permitted to vote on all matters before the meeting.
Is there any discussion? Okay. Can I see all in agreement? Seconder. Okay, sorry. Could I have a seconder? I don't.
Please say your name out loud.
Susan Skolnick is seconding. Thank you. Any discussion now? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. That motion is passed. And could I have a motion to nominate a chairperson, please?
Joanne McPherson, it would be my pleasure to make a motion to nominate Kathy Chewinka to be the chair of the ACM.
Okay. And could I have a seconder, please? Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. That motion is passed. So, Kathy, please.
We have to push you?
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be with you today. It's good to be with you today. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Can I eat the cookies now, or? Yes? Yes. Reverend Michelle said yes. Before we move on, I just want to say, and I know others have said, if you could please use the mic and say your name really clearly, it will help with our meeting secretary for noting for our meeting, okay? So we are going to move through our agenda. We are on item number 5. Could I have a motion to nominate a secretary for today's ACM?
I move that we appoint Ashley Edwards as secretary for this ACM.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Susan Stone, I'll second the motion.
Sorry?
I forgot to say my name.
Oh, Bev Crum, got it. And Sue? Any discussion? All in favor? And online? Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Welcome, Ashley.
What would you have done if I said I opposed?
I would have done a lot of typing. Okay. So as Ashley gets settled in, we're going to move to our agenda item number 6 when you're ready. You good?
I am good now.
Okay.
What time did we call this to?
Say again.
Just checking the time. 12:30.
Okay. So item number 6, we need a motion to accept the agenda as circulated. Could I have a motion to accept the agenda as circulated? I thought I saw Debbie Joyce.
I, Debbie Joyce, accept the minutes of the March 2nd annual meeting.
Do we have a second for that motion? Susan Pleasance. Any discussion about the agenda at this point? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion is carried. See, we're moving right along. You're okay? You good? Stop me if you're not. Okay, agenda item number 7. We need a motion to accept the minutes of the March 2nd, 2025 annual congregational meeting found in the annual report on page 45. So we need a motion. Eileen Whitney, do we have a seconder? Larry Laycock. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to our ministry section, and we'll start with our minister's comments from Reverend Michelle.
So I saved my sermon for now.
Do you need a cookie?
Yeah, I know. I will do my best. Anyway, good to be with you, friends. It has been a year, don't you think? I mean that in the best possible way, too. It has been a year full of worship and work and ordinary Sundays and weekday gatherings. I use that word ordinary, and I want to pause on it because I love how Kate Bowler and Sarah Bessey and some other authors reflect on the theologicalness of ordinary, because the sacred doesn't just visit us on mountaintops or those big high moments. The sacred comes in the casserole that's dropped off on Tuesday, and in the card that is written on Wednesday, and the email of thanks that goes out. It's what happens when a person smiles and slides over to welcome somebody into worship, and sometimes that is the whole sermon. So you've been there for one another as a community through so many moments, being there with each other when grief has arrived, and it's done that more than once. You've been there for each other when joy needed celebrating, new babies, milestones, and answered prayers, and we give God great thanks for those. When someone needed something, community showed up. When someone needed prayers, you prayed, needed a bag of groceries, those groceries were packed. When someone needed a meeting to end, you stayed, and I thank you for that. Now, you know, because it gets repeated a lot, but we're living at a time or a moment when it seems like belonging is under a lot of pressure. You've heard, I'm sure, of the loneliness epidemic that we are facing, the headlines we know of polarization, rising hatred among some groups of people, or towards some groups of people. And we also know with our faith that Jesus had this habit of just extending the table, of bringing different people together around the table. In the disciples, there were fishermen and tax collectors and zealots and people who collaborated with Rome. And he had a habit of eating with people who had not been invited anywhere else. And so Westminster keeps trying to keep that good tradition alive, and insisting that the table is longer. And the table is longer, bigger, rounder, much more than we often think. And I celebrate that our table has gotten bigger over the year. And I also want to say that and mention that some who have come to Westminster have carried grief of a church that you were a part of that has closed. And that's a really profound time to be part of a community that you've loved, a place that held history in your faith, and it's a real loss. But I also want to say we're so glad that you are here and that you've brought your whole story and your gifts and your faith with you, because that story is part of us. It's who we are and who God is shaping us to be. One important piece of work that we undertook and that is still unfolding, and I think Ava will be speaking to a little bit, has to do with the discernment and naming of our values, those values that we live by. This really has to do with what our congregation deeply cares about, things like community and belonging, inclusion, hospitality, outreach, and spiritual growth. And this is more than just like an exercise or something we might laminate and put on a bulletin board. It really helps to know who we are, and when we can name it, it helps us stay grounded, especially when decisions come, and there may be decisions that feel hard, or when change comes, as it does. So I value that work that's happening on values. Speaking of change, 2025 did bring change to our staff life. Kathy Shaw left after 11 years here, and we give thanks for the many ways that she gave of herself. And we know change can be stressful, but it can also open the door for renewed energy and ways of serving. And I'm so glad, glad that Linda Morozic has joined us, the team as our child, youth, and family ministry leader. It is a hopeful and beautiful sign that we are investing in our young people and families, because any church that's interested in its future needs to be a life-giving place for children, youth, and families. Another role that we're hopeful will begin here is a pastoral care coordinator, because caring for one another, of course, is really central to who we are as community and as God's people. And the reality is that care does need coordination. It's interesting that in our scripture, one of the first challenges in the book of Acts was actually, it's really essentially a pastoral care challenge, because there were widows that were not getting what they needed, and a community had to figure out how to organize themselves so that nobody fell through the gaps. And so we're doing something similar in that spirit, hoping that this pastoral care coordinator role will help weave together these caring impulses that are already here, that exist in this congregation through our friendly visitors and prayer team, and those of you who bring meals and who make phone calls and all the gifts that are offered, so that all of that can be stewarded, and the people who need connection can find it. So that's really hopeful and wonderful too. I want to extend my deepest gratitude and thanks to colleagues on staff, Ben, Renelle, Amy, and Linda, for the care you bring to your work and your patience with me and with each other and your creativity. And a huge thanks to council, to every committee chair, to every committee member, to every volunteer. I know that the work you do sometimes feels unnoticed, and it can sometimes feel like work, but it isn't unnoticed. Westminster is a community that it is by God's grace, and because of people like you who are willing to give their time and their wisdom and their energy to the church. Give it to something bigger than any one of us. And so I sincerely say thank you and thank God for you. I'm going to close by sharing a verse that I've been carrying with me and reciting to myself on the regular. It's from Philippians 4. It's when Paul is writing and he's saying to people, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, and whatever is lovely, and whatever is commendable, if there is anything worthy of praise, think of these things. Now, it can read like a greeting card, except that Paul wrote those words from prison, which means he's not sitting in comfortable circumstances just telling people to look on the bright side of things. He's someone in genuine difficulty making a deliberate choice about what to give attention to. And I know when there's so much that can pull our attention toward fear and scarcity and division, it's not a small thing to keep choosing the lovely thing, to focus on knitting a prayer shawl for a baby's baptism, or for someone who's in the hospital, or dropping off that bag of groceries, or putting your name forward in that meeting that needed one more person willing to do the work. Paying attention to when we feel annoyed or disagreeing with somebody in the week, but that we can come together on Sunday and pass the peace anyway. So think about these things. Keep thinking about them, and keep thinking about all that you have built here and are continuing to build here by the grace of God, through the ordinary days in this ordinary year. And I want you to know that you are loved and that I love you, and it is a gift to be with you sincerely. And may the peace of Christ dwell in your hearts and minds always.
Ben. Thank you for your care and leadership, Reverend Michelle. We welcome Dr. Ben Stein up for his Minister of Music comments.
I'm not Ben.
You are not Ben.
No. But I do have, Ben wasn't able to be with us today, and I have just very short words to share with you on from our Minister of Music, Ben. So there's a great involvement from the children in the child-led Christmas Eve services, and I'm sure you all enjoyed them. Hoping to encourage more youth to take part in the musical side of worship. And Ben sends out a huge thank you to the choir, to SALT, to the soloists, and musicians who have brought a joyful noise to our worship services. And many, many thanks and congratulations to Westminster for very strong and committed support and participation in all aspects of regular music making, on psalms, sound and tech support, and children's activities. Thank you very much.
And our thanks to Dr. Ben for his leadership. And now I'll introduce you to Ava Tomlinson.
So I have, as Council of Chair, an opportunity to make some comments. But before I do that, I just wanted to say I did forget to say a special thank you to Jordan Lesser and Isabella Cruz, who are doing the childcare for today. So we're very grateful for that. And so for my comments, I'm hoping you don't mind that I delve a bit more into the results of the survey on the values, and so then you can see the results for yourselves. So just as a beginning, so 2025 seemed to go by very quickly, at least for me. So hopefully you will have had time to read the annual report, and you will agree that we've had a good year. As a community, we have continued to work on our plan that we created last year for 2025 to 2027. We've also been working on discerning our values. So I'd like to share the results and then our next steps. So if I could have the first slide, please, Katie. The next. Okay. Actually, is there another one there, just about why we did the survey? No. That one. That's good. So sometimes we do surveys, and sometimes, not just us, anyone, and you never really find out what happened with the results. So that's one reason I wanted to share them. So Council and a small group of invited individuals held a retreat at Kedron United Church on September 27th, 2025. And the purpose of it was to discern the values of Westminster United Church. So we wanted to start there and then bring it back to you, the congregation, to make sure we're on the right track. Michelle gave an update on the process and the values in her November 16th, 2025 sermon. So you can always go back and watch that again if you want to, because it really brings them to the forefront. And then we decided that we would do a survey to the congregation, and we did that in January 2026. We decided to not do it right before Christmas because everybody's so busy, so we waited till January. And we had 40 responses to the survey. Okay. So the first question was, from the 7 values that you were given, select 4 to 5 that you believe are most core to who we are as a church. So you could choose 4 to 5. So a total of 184 values were chosen. So 25 respondents chose 5, 14 chose 4, and 1 chose 3. And all of that's fine. So from this graph, you can see that it was hard to choose because the pieces of the pie are, pretty equal. probably you wouldn't mind getting any of those pieces. So, but community and belonging, so the blue one, not the lightest blue, sort of the royal blue, had 34 people choose it at 18%. And I'll remind you what community and belonging is. It is living together faithfully as a family of God, inclusion and outreach, friendship and love for God and neighbor. And then hospitality and inclusion is orange, and it was chosen 38 times, or 21%. And hospitality and inclusion is a safe, welcoming, respectful environment, welcoming regardless of background or belief, and a space for authenticity. Service and outreach, the darker green at 35 choices, or 19%. And that was called to be the church, both inside and outside the walls, generosity with time, resources, and presence, commitment to helping others. And then faith and spiritual growth, the darker blue, at 29 choices, or 16%, and that is encouragement in prayer and worship, spiritual development and learning, connecting Christian faith with life and the world today. So in those descriptions, you can also see overlap, which isn't really surprising. And then if I could have the next slide, please. So this slide there was a second question, and we asked, of the values you selected in number 1, which one do you think is the single most important to our church's identity? And this is also very difficult to respond to, and I'm sure many of us had to take time to think about it. So community and belonging, so the one that is living together faithfully as a family of God, inclusion and outreach, friendship and love for God and neighbor, was chosen by almost 50% of respondents. So, what will happen next? So we've taken a temperature check, and this is what we've heard from you via the survey. What we're proposing is, for each one of those top 4, we'll add a scripture reference so that we can see where that value fits with scripture. And then we're proposing that we jump in and use these values to work through our decisions. Remembering that values are made to guide us. They aren't just words on a page. So you might hear people using these values, okay, so how does this fit with community and belonging? And that's what we hope for. And sometimes choosing to stand behind our values may mean a harder path, saying no to an easy win, or standing alone in a tough moment. And that's okay. That's what we hope for too. This means that you will start to see the values woven into Michelle's message. You may hear them in meetings and see them in materials that are shared from the office and our teams. And I hope that we can really embrace them and use them. So that's enough talking. If you have questions or input, please ask me. I might not have all the answers right at hand. But you can ask me in person, you can phone me up anytime, or via email. So thank you for attending and for walking in faith with this community. Now let's continue with the meeting.
And thank you for your faithful leadership. Okay, we're on agenda item number 11, which is going to deal with our 2025 financial report and our 2026 forecast / budget. She's done. She's done, Paul. So I'll invite Paul Pearson, our treasurer, up to speak to us.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Oh, you're awake? Okay, good. As I was working on the year-end statements and thinking, and the question that crossed my mind is, why do I do what I do, you know? So, and for some strange reason, a hymn came to mind, and a hymn that I heard a lot as a youth, and heard it so much that it kind of drove me nuts. But every June, the fathers would get together and they have a Father's Day choir for Father's Day. And every year they would sing, "Will your anchor hold in the storms of life?" And they would all bellow it out, you know. So I asked the organist once, I said, "Why don't you change it?" And she said, "Well, you know, me getting them into practice in the middle of June is not going to happen." And they all know the song. They all know the song. I don't know why it popped in there, but it popped in, and I thought, yeah, this is our anchor. You know, Michelle talked about community, Ava talked about the survey, you know, community being, you know, one of our key attributes that we strive for. And really, it is my anchor. And the anchor, this week I felt the anchor at the pancake supper. And I thought, how great when I went home from that. I had a lot of fun, actually. So Mona drove me nuts, but I had a lot of fun. So I say that in jest. But it was people getting together. I mean, we were in the kitchen. I learned all about white chocolate pancakes, so thank you, Pat. So thank you very much. But I could hear the laughter, kids, people coming. The place was full, and it was just a great event. And it was such like an anchor that took me out of the newsreels that we've been seeing week after week after week. And I thought, how wonderful. And so when I look at the financials and so on, I said, what is the health of our anchor, the health of our community? Do they align up? And it was an exercise I often did when we were doing it at work. We said, do the numbers reflect what we're feeling? And by that I mean is, you know, if we were sitting here today and I said we got lots of money in the bank and there were only 3 people in the pew and they were miserable, that's probably not a healthy community. If we said we're all about outreach, and we looked and we said, we're all about outreach, but we had nothing that we had done over the past year. So when I looked at our financials in totality, I said, you know, from a financial point of view, last year I stood here and said, we're going to have a deficit. We ended up with a slight surplus. And so that is a community coming together. I said last year, I wasn't sure how we were going to figure it out, and things change and so on, but we did figure it out. So community coming together. When I look at the balance between outreach and inward, it's pretty good. So we are investing, we're taking time to take care of ourselves, but we're very much engaged on an outreach part of our work. And that was part of my report that I sent out. A really healthy body. And it isn't just being outreach, it's actually doing outreach. And so some of the things I listed there are some of the major ones. But there are other things we do, like the mittens, living alone lunches, people that go help with the food bank. Coldest night of the year, talk about outreach. It has no direct benefit to us, but it's something we do. 30 people walking in the cold and raising $8,000. That's huge. And that says a lot about it. So when we talk about values, do the values actually meet up with our actions? And as I was listening to Ava, I was going, check, check, check. So it isn't something we just talk about, but are we living into it? So, and that's kind of the way I looked at the financials when you look at it from a broader point of view. And to that point, I'd like to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being you and for your support in both time and financially. Thanks to those that, for the first time, received their donation tax receipts by email this year. Over 200 went out that way. Saved us a lot of time and a lot of money. The balance of you that are getting them in paper have gone out. Thanks to my friend in Brantford, Monica, our bookkeeper, for her support on keeping financial records updated and accurate. There are a lot of moving parts on a daily basis and lots of bits of paper going all over the place. So our auditors are at work, working, doing the financial statements, and we'll produce an audit report down the road. I've just skipped over because I changed around what I just said to what I wrote, so hang in there. Hang in there. I need a musical interlude. No, I don't. So, you know, I had some musings in my report that I gave out, but one of the things I jokingly said this week at our stewardship meeting, I said, being a treasurer of a nonprofit church, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Budgets and resources will always be tight. They always will be. That's the nature of the beast. Yes, from time to time, we need to talk money, and we will continue to do so. Things do cost money, and you need to know what they cost, and we need your input, your conversation back on what we want to do and what we don't want to do. We will always have more ideas and needs and resources, staff, volunteer, and finances, resulting in us having to make tough decisions from time to time. It's very rewarding to see the positive impact in our community is making in people's lives, both within our congregation and externally. Nothing is greater than seeing that. You get to do things you never expected to do. And the con is, you get to do things you never expected to do. You get to meet a variety of people with a variety of backgrounds. I would have never met some of you people or got to know people in some of your backgrounds. I'm amazed every time I join a new group or whatever, what people's backgrounds. You all hide little things. You know, there are lots of electricians floating around or accountants or people that are musicians. So, and as a treasurer, you eventually end up with white and gray hair or no hair at all. So I'm going to pause there. I'm told I'm going to ask for questions, but before we can ask questions or input on what the financial report has sent out, I guess there's a motion that we need to have, Kathy?
Did you want to have any discussion about your preliminary comments, or do you want to move to
We'll just move it all into one big happy.
Okay. So we are looking for a motion to accept the financial report for 2025. Sorry.
Hi, it's Margaret Supal, and I'd like to make a motion to accept the financial report for 2025
As published, correct?
as published.
Do we have a second? Sorry, did you get the name?
Jordan Heath.
Jordan Haynes? Thank you.
Thanks.
Any discussion?
Questions?
Question/discussion? Okay. All in favor of accepting that motion? Okay, online? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that motion is carried, Paul.
So I guess the next part is, within the report, I sort of laid out where we're headed for 2026. So I'd like a motion on that, and if you've got some questions for that as well.
Margaret Supal, I make a motion to accept the budget for 2026 as printed in the ACM report.
Do we have a motion? Ed Rostabucco. Any discussion?
Yes.
It's partly a comment, partly a question.
Dan York-Quebec.
The actual for last year is an impressive increase, and if you look at it, almost $527,000 for the work of the local church is a wonderful, wonderful thing, including, in addition to that, another $5,000 almost for the capital fund. So that's over $530,000. And when you look at that same year, you also have $37,676 for the pantry, $27,000 for mission and service, and for the hampers and tin cans, another almost $8,000. And those together, it's over $70,000.
Yeah.
Now, that percentage-wise is a very good example of what we've been talking about, how values are being demonstrated, especially in the area of outreach, because most of those last three are outreach. And when you have a congregation that contributes in that way, which is better than 10%, actually, I forget what the percentage would be, but it's way better than 10% of your local. That's always been a marker in the church, that a church that's living needs to be doing considerably more outside. If we can do better than 10%, well, that's always a good start. So for the 26 budget, my question relates to my favorite one, why the mission and service budget should be forecast at $22,000 when we gave $27,000 last year. I believe that the amount should be no less than what we gave last year. And so I would make a suggestion that we amend that to read at least $27,000 to give us a goal that is equal to what we did, and hopefully we can better it.
Paul, would you like to address that comment?
It needs to be seconded first.
It has to be second.
Oh, sorry, I thought we had a second.
I made an amendment.
Are we accepting the amendment, or did you want to? Is there any discussion around that?
Do we have a
amendment
seconder?
Heather Von Zuben to second. I thought we were on discussion, sorry. Yeah, I thought we were.
I mean, the number was based on, so in the fall, everybody completes the intentional giving form, which, thank you very much for sending them in. I think we had a record this year, so another sign of commitment to the church in terms of letting us know what you're going to do. So I appreciate that. So based on the feedback and what we did last year and this year, that's where the number sort of based on intention. So not opposed if you want to change the targets. So.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the M&S amount for 2026, correct? All in favor of that amendment? Online? Any opposed to that amendment? One. Any abstaining from that amendment?
We got three.
Four of the five.
Okay.
Yeah.
Abstain?
Yeah. There was
Abstain. So how many have we want? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
9.
8 or 9?
Because Joanne had her hand up.
Okay. Okay. Looks like that motion is carried.
Any other questions or comments on the 2026? Yes.
Jan Hendricks, does that mean our deficit is now higher than it was?
Yes and no. So the M&S, we treat it, I call it below the line. So so it is a direct, whatever you give goes directly to M&S. So we don't take it, it isn't a profit, it won't make or break us. So if you only give $20,000, that's the 20, so the council will not top up the other $7,000. So that's a commitment you're making as a congregation to get to the 27. So.
I think so. We should be fine. Yeah. Okay, you're clear. Okay, we're just doing some business. Yeah. We're okay?
Yep, he's made a note.
Okay.
So did we vote on the budget?
So we need a motion
Hold on.
to.
Oh,
Joanne McPherson. I just want, before we vote on the next part, I just want to acknowledge the kind of work that Paul Pearson does for us here. We are in the financial situation we are because of the work of Paul. So I just want that on record and recognized before we
100%.
we go further and let him go. And he has to do the job forever.
Is there a motion?
If I'm an outreach, you're doing
I don't know.
treasurer.
Nominations are coming up, so.
I was kidding.
Yeah, okay.
No, I was kidding. It was good.
Okay, so we need a motion now to accept the budget for 2026.
We are,
We had that
we had
already.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You need to
Margaret.
vote.
sorry.
Margaret Sue Paul, seconded by Ed. Rest of it go.
Okay.
That's how
All
we
in
got here.
favor?
So,
So now we're voting,
Now, it is.
as amended, yes. So, all in favor?
You need a motion again? You need a motion.
No. And opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that motion is carried.
okay, great. So I wouldn't be me to not leave with a couple asks. So PAR. So thank you for all those that are on PAR or the pre-authorized payment to the church for your giving. So appreciate that. We have about 120 that are on it. For some of you that are regular givers, that whether through envelopes, Canada Helps, EFT, and so on, I know people give the way they give based on personal circumstances and how they like to do it. But for some of the regular givers, heads up, I will be sending you a letter just to kind of maybe have a little nudge or conversation about considering going to PAR. So, and I've had, last fall, we had that same sort of nudge, and there were a few people that took me up on the offer. It really helps when you do that because it helps to find cash flow, but it makes the accounting a lot easier. But at the same time, I understand people give in the different ways they want to give. I also respect people give of both their time and their gifts as they are able to. So it doesn't matter what the size of the hours, just we appreciate everything you do regardless. So you may have seen the tip tap or the tap board outside. I haven't said a lot about it. It was something we're trying out. People give different ways. People don't carry cash in their wallets. I don't either. It was designed or is designed to for people that are the occasional people that are coming in on Sundays, or we tried it out on the pancake supper. If you came and said we had a free will giving, you can tap there. So try it out. We leave it going during the week. I have gotten some donations during the week. So if somebody goes by and kind of taps $5 or every once in a while, so I kind of go, okay. It was Wednesday night at 10 o'clock, so, I have no idea why. But, so it doesn't give a tax receipt, but it's there. We're trying it out. We have the opportunity to redesign the board that supports that. Just Amy and I haven't got there yet, so take a look, and that's what that's about. Lastly, the Gala Dinner Theater, we talked about April 17th is coming up. It'll be similar to the one we had at Valentine's. I had somebody last week say, how come you didn't do it at Valentine's? I was counting on doing it at Valentine's. And I said, I'm not trying to, we were lucky last year. We were right between two snowstorms. So I said, I'm not going to play with fate. So it'll be similar, but this year where there's a local theater group that's going to do a play as part of the programming. Last year, we run a silent auction, and last year some people graciously gave some very nice gifts that we had as part of the silent auction. So we aren't looking for yard sale. That's in a couple of weeks after the gala. So, pardon? 1 week after, Susan says, the 25th. So two things, but if you've got something you'd like to contribute to the silent auction or support that support means a lot. So, and it's a lot of fun. So, and again, thank you for everything you do and what you make of Westminster.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for your leadership. Okay, we're moving on to item number 14, which is we're looking for a motion to accept the 2025 annual report as published. So circulated and published. Susan Pleasance, do we have a seconder? Sue Skolnick. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion's carried. Great. I think we're calling Paul Pearson back up again. We're dealing with our nominating committee report.
Sorry, I was just making sure you didn't need to do this motion.
Paul, before you step in, could you come here for just 1 sec?
Do we need to do this motion in my notes that you were going to do a motion for the accounting firm?
I don't have that on the agenda.
Okay, nomination committee. Nomination committee needs members. I'm it. I have 2 motions to bring forward. So the first motion is for the people that are been on committees that are moving on to other activities. So, and it is with much thanks for their contributions over the years. So the motion reads, first, to accept and approve the names of those departing. I don't like the word departing, but that's what sounds like they've left forever, but they haven't. So departed or resigned or about to resign. So, and the people that, thank you for your service on the various committees that are leaving these committees. Jim Ward from trustees. Thank you, Jim. Barb Ockelone, trustees. Margaret Supal. Really? Stewardship and Finance. Shane Supal, nominations. Paul Kneebone is ECOR. Kathleen Follett from the CDMC. Dennis Salons, CDMC. Corrine Adamson, CDMC. Mona Turner, CDMC. Bev Crum, Communications, effective June 30th. Mary Lynn Frazier, effective June 30th, 2026. Lorraine Rostabaco, Communications, June 30th. Gordon Kirk, Property. Carol O'Neill, past president, UCW. And Arthur Smith, ECOR. So with thanks for your service, I'd like to make a motion to accept their resignations. Well, that would be me. That would be me. I didn't want to read the list. So I make the motion. So do I have is there a second?
Oh,
Sure.
sorry. Discussion?
I just wanted to mention that Paul Abel left wellness. I wasn't where he was leaving the ECOR, but he did leave wellness. He didn't mention
Okay. All right. Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Arthur Smith?
Can I just make some comments about my time on?
Sure.
ECOR,
Sure. Go ahead.
if I may? About 30 years ago, Helen Joint convinced me to replace her on presbytery. Since then, I've been chair of presbytery. I've been on the board of governors of the Five Oaks Bookstore, Church Extension Council. We went to Leeds in 2004. I've been chair of the Church Extension Council, very active there. And of course, once ECOR came in 2019, I was there. And I serve on the Mission Through Property and Finance Committee. Now, I will continue on that committee until May, because apparently, Shane, you need to get on the nominations, sign up for nominations for ECOR to get on a committee. So that's online. So anyone new at ECOR needs to do that. But I just want to make a point about the United Church of Canada and the importance of the lay representatives. It's fundamental to the United Church of Canada that we have an equal representation of lay and clergy at all levels of leadership within this church. And it is very important. And, you know, even though I'm stepping down, I just want to let you know that how important this is and that other people need to take up that role as some of us age out, like Helen did. And she passed the baton to me almost 30 years ago. We need to pass the baton on to younger people who need to take up that role and make sure that they go on to ECOR. I never was a commissioner, never went to general council or any of those roles, but there is that opportunity to move from ECOR to get elected to a general council role or to sit on the regional council of elders and other roles within that. So it is important, and I want to encourage people that, you know, as the people that are on the committee step down, the ECOR reps step down, that other people take up the baton, as it were, and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you.
So with the motion on the floor, all in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion's carried.
Okay, so the next motion I have are for the people joining committees, so with thanks. So as you may have guessed by the other list, we've lost quite a few people off committees, and there's lots of opportunities. So I'll read off a list of people that have agreed to join committees, and then I think Kathy's going to open it to the floor if anybody else would like to nominate somebody or volunteer to be on a committee. Now's your chance, a great opportunity, you know, so. So joining committees, Lisa Stewart is going to be our chair in stewardship and finance. Jim Knights is on stewardship and finance. Shane Supal, you just heard ECOR. Maureen Dingman, wellness. Beth Shine, outreach, prayer, shawl ministry. Gary Willard, property security lead. Cecile Willard, fire system lead on property. Linda Morasa, who's our, as you know, our child, youth, and young family lead. Anybody else?
Are there any further nominations?
Oh, come on, guy.
Are there any further nominations?
Sure.
I have a question. How do we know what positions are still open? I wouldn't know where to find that myself.
It's a great question.
Oh, that's it?
So my suggestion is you talk to me and find out what you're interested in. So, okay, so
Thank
you
you
can
for asking
treasurer's
that
open
question.
if you'd like it. We'll start there. So
That's a
so-
great question. Thank you.
A great question. So that's the point, is finding out what is the best fit, or what you're interested in. So, okay, great.
And it's
So
Jordan, right? Jordan, right? Your name's Jordan? Thanks.
Thank you. And last call, any further nominations? Nothing online? Okay. So you're making a motion to,
Yeah, we may say nominations are closed.
yep, nominations are closed. And we've got a motion.
And you need to vote.
We need a seconder.
Do we
need-
have-
Yes, we need a seconder on that nomination, or on that motion. Mona Turner. Any further discussion?
I just think that it says 2025, it probably should be 2026, because this is the new listing
Yeah.
for this year. And then under wellness, Maureen Dingman's just starting this year, so it says 2021, should be 2026. They're just typos.
Thank you.
Sue?
Not
Sue?
that I care that much, but in E-Corps, my name's spelled right, and in Christian education it isn't, but could be wrong spelling.
Okay.
We're learning.
Yep, that's a point. Great. So do we need to amend that motion to
Just
include the
correct-
corrections?
just include-
Okay. Any other corrections?
or-
Okay. We're good. Yeah. So all in favor with those noted amendments? Opposed? Any abstentions? And that motion's carried. Thank you, Paul.
Yep, great.
Okay, we're in the seventh inning stretch. Everybody stretch. We are on item number 16, which is deals with the resignation of a trustee. So I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the resignation of trustee.
I have to read it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I have to read it first.
Ed
So-
Ross, oh, you gotta do that.
I've got to read.
Ashley-
I've got to read
Ashley will
first.
read the resignation.
So this letter was submitted to serve the request for the resignation from the Board of Trustees as of February 22nd, 2026, as a recognition of fulfilling Jim Ward's 10-year commitment. He remarked that he enjoyed his tenure and feels privileged to have served Westminster United Church, and this was respectfully submitted by Jim Ward.
Thank you.
Ed Ross DeButko, I move to accept and approve the name of those who've resigned Jim Ward.
Do we have a seconder? Shane Supal, any discussion around that motion? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? And that motion is carried. And thank you to Jim Ward for his service.
Kathy, I have another note.
Ed Rustabutko.
This also has to do with trustees. With sadness, I acknowledge that since our last annual meeting, Barbara Ochterlony has passed away. Her name has been removed from the list of Westminster trustees by reason of death. We are so grateful for her faithful service, and we continue to hold her in loving memory. That's just noted.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you, Barbara. Item number 17, any outstanding new or other business? Nothing? Great. Okay. We don't need a motion on that, do we? No. No. Okay. Now we're in the home stretch. Could I have a motion to adjourn the annual meeting? Eileen Whitley. Thank you. And that doesn't require a second. Thank you, everyone.
Still, they said it.
All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Anything online? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. There is a lot to celebrate and give thanks for. And two names that I also want to lift up are those of Reverend Sue and Reverend Dan, who are voluntary associate ministers here, who I lean on quite a bit for guidance and support, and I know who offer their pastoral care gifts to all of us in the congregation. So thank you so much to both of you. Our closing prayer today, I just put Sue Skolnick on the spot because in our Lenten devotional, she offered a prayer as a reflection of the testimony of John the Baptist, and it just fits so well. So I'm inviting her to close with a prayer that she wrote.
Okay. So this is
This is based on John chapter 1, verses 19 to 23, which is the testament of John the Baptist. Dear God, thank you for your never-ending mercy and grace. Thank you that you are here for us today and for all of our tomorrows. Thank you that we can be baptized into faith as John baptized, that we can enter heaven because Jesus died to save us. John listened to God's calling. He responded with unwavering faith, even when questioned by authorities. May we do the same. When people ask, "What's it to you? Who died and made you boss? Who do you think you are?" Let us be able to respond with John's confidence that we are children of God. When God calls us to volunteer, reach out, donate, let us be kind to everyone. Let us listen for his word, then say, no, sing. I'm not going to sing it now. Here I am, Lord. I will go, Lord, where you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. Amen.
Everyone. Can I go over a couple things with you?
Please do. Yeah.